What's the biggest challenge that you've faced in your marriage so far?
Whether we should take an Uber here or take the subway.
Living in New York City is kind of the hardest thing that we've had to deal with.
Definitely.
For sure. We just moved here.
We both have multiple jobs and
We
of
don't
seeing
see
each other.
Yeah.
Mine was family. I already got over my expectations of what I thought, love was going to look like and be. And now I'm happy. So now it's kind of just getting all of my family on board with that.
Accepting the fact that you are legally responsible for this person now.
If I win the lotto, I have to give you half now.
You don't have to.
Well, we both have quite religious members of our families. It's quite a broad spectrum. So it's making sure everyone's happy, keeping everybody content with everything that's going on.
Staying true to your creative self. You don't want to stop going for what you want to do in life.
We have very high dreams. We have a web series together and a production company that we try to stabilize on our own.
I would say that we're both dreamers, and with being a dreamer, sometimes you don't necessarily weigh out the options before you make a decision. I'm like, oh, I think we need to move to LA.
I'm like, when? Let's go. What we gonna do? I'm ready. Let's go.
And then we get stuck someplace, and it's like, oh, so rent is $3,000 here. Okay.
But it always works out for us. So
the adjustment to the role of parents is, I don't think we really judge that correctly.
Because
it is hard.
We stopped dating, our role became mom and dad. And next thing you know, it's like, hey, it's been 3 years and we've only been on 2 dates.
Yes.
That's not healthy because our dating is what got us here.
Mm-hmm. There was a time where Junior was injured and he was out of work, and that was really hard on us. And he got really depressed. It was only me and him, and I felt I was not sufficient, but it actually made us more connected.
Yeah, and stronger.
Our daughter, she was diagnosed with a genetic disease, I guess, and it just was, it was earth-shattering, but she's fine. Now that it's been in our lives for 14 years, it's something that we see we can deal with.
Aging.
Yeah. Aging is difficult.
After having especially the first kid, it was hard. It was really hard because, there's something going wrong. You're not getting any sleep, and it's so tempting to blame the other person and say it's your fault somehow.
During the 1990s, I worked for 3 companies in a row, believe it or not, that filed for bankruptcy. That was a very tough period, and I think it put some strain on our marriage as well. I was able to come back and have had a thriving career for the last 20 years.
I think his sense of very strong optimism really helped get us through that time.
Probably my health. The health.
We've
had some real issues in the last few years. So he's been my support. He's been my rock the whole time.
And also, bringing up the children and dealing with other family issues as well. As our parents got older, we had a lot of challenges with them as well. But that's all part of life.
Overspending, I'd come home from work and he'd be outside and he decided to buy bushes, and there's 20 bushes across my yard, and I'm like, what are you doing? We don't have that kind of money, and that kind of thing.
I like bushes. My misbehaving, I think, and that's all I'm going to say.
Bringing up the children, we did have some arguments. He was very strict, and I was mellow. I let them watch TV.
Later, I learned that as soon as they heard that I'm coming home,
the television went off.
The television, the kids
and they each went into their room.
Our youngest child was in a serious automobile accident, and we didn't know if he would survive, and then he was paralyzed on half his body, and he had no speech.
And eventually he developed seizures, and it just affected everybody.
But fortunately, he was young enough to make a really very good recovery. He learned to speak again, and he was not quite 5.
I mean, there are things that happen in most people's lives which is a tragedy in which you have to face.
We had some very supportive friends, and that was very important.